Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone. Today's video is a little bit different, yeah? You guys saw the title. I actually discovered this book via a podcast. Now, if you watch my vlogs, I have mentioned a time or two that my favorite podcast of all time is Mysterious Universe. It is hard for me to even tell you what this podcast is about because they do the gamut. Aliens, Bigfoot, you name it, pretty much, right? But the structure of the podcast is they oftentimes get these topics from these weird, out there kind of books. So yeah, I would classify it as kind of like a book podcast. But this one sounded just so amazing to me that I actually ordered it. I had to. And oh my God, am I so glad I did. It is beautiful. It is, for me, it is like a display piece. Not gonna lie. It is so good, in fact, that after I read the first chapter, I realized that I could not review this book in one video. I just can't. It is a book lover's dream because it is about books. It is about weird books, strange books, book history, things like that. So what I want to do with this book is I want to do a video for each chapter. And you might be thinking like, the video is going to be super short. Maybe yes, maybe no, because if the first chapter is any indication, there is so much info, and can I just say it's written really awesome. Really awesome. It's so funny at parts, and like I said, I'm only like 40 pages in with the first chapter. Stick around to the end of the video because I am going to give you guys some close-ups of some of the artwork in here and some of the artifacts that they have pictures of because they're awesome. So let's dive in, guys. The book that we're talking about today, chapter 1, is The Madman's Library. I know, it's perfect for us in the Panic Room, isn't it? I mean, it just doesn't get any better. So this book is by Edward Brooke Hitching, and the little blurb on the front says, "The strangest books, manuscripts, and other literary curiosities from history." Now, as a history nerd myself, I was all over this. I know, I'm only one chapter in, but it's already worth the money, okay? And this book was like $30, which is a big deal to me since I go to the library primarily. But I am really glad I did. It is hardback. I will keep this forever. It is gorgeous. It is chock full of amazing information. It's hilarious, by the way this book is set up. If history books were written this way, more kids would like history. Anyway, let's dive in. Like I said, I'm going to break this up into chapters because there is just so much info in each chapter. And the chapters are set up really cool. Like chapter 1 is books that aren't books. Intriguing, right? But check this action out. Like I said, stick around to the end of the video. I will give you guys some close-ups of some of the pictures and things in this book. But look at this. This is just the opening page. Is that not gorgeous? Right? Is that not beautiful? Ugh, so pretty. So this is for all of my like book-loving, word nerd, history buffs out there. You guys are going to love this. So the very first, on the other side of the introduction, the very first illustration is, this is an illustration from a mysterious supernatural manuscript circa 1775 in the collection of London's Wellcome Library, known as the Compendium of Demonology and Magic. Check this action out. Right? Yeah, so that gives you a little taste of what we're in for. So, books that aren't books. This whole chapter went into some of the crazy shit. Some of it I had kind of heard of. Like, for example, the very first one was about, like, books that were covered in arsenic. Yeah, and, like, the terrible things that can happen to you if you touch books covered in arsenic. But then it goes into, like, some crazy, crazy manuscripts. All right? Now, I'm going to pause here and say, one of the best things that I love about digging into history, about learning about other cultures, is no matter what, at every turn, I am confronted with the astounding fact that never ceases to amaze me for some reason, that we are all the same. Your clothes might be different, your hair might be different, your language might be different, but at the core, humanity is the same. If you guys watched my like horror roots Victorian video, you know, I said that some things never change. Right? Because the Victorians were like funny and weird and, you know, we're like that too. Again, I was reinforced with this book because, and I will show you a little bit of this at the end of the video. I'm not going to show a ton because there are some I guess, not safe for work kind of pictures within this manuscript, but it is a manuscript of people fighting via farts. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. And it's, let's see, hold on. If you want to look it up, He-Gassen, literally fart competition, a Japanese scroll of the Indo period circa 1603 to 1868 by an unknown artist depicting characters exercising flatulence against each other, likely as satire. Yeah, I'll give you a second. I flipped the page because it's like a 2-page spread. It's hilarious. It's so funny. But I will try to put some of that in the end of the video. I can't swear because they're mostly guys. And there's some parts that I don't feel comfortable sharing because I don't know who's going to be watching this video. And you might not like to see that. So, yeah. I'll leave that to your imagination. So guys, next up in this chapter, we had these stories about books that served other purposes. And I feel like you've heard these stories about like people with shit in their pockets and like they get shot and it stops the bullet. So this is by Maurice Haminault. And he was under attack in World War I, but he had a copy of Rudyard Kipling's Kim. And yeah, he always joked that he was 20 pages from death. Right there. Isn't that cool? I thought that was interesting. I had never even heard of that. And let's see, the next page is a big spread of this woman with her chickens. And it is Nancy Luce, who is the chicken poet of Massachusetts. Please comment down below. Have any of you heard of this woman? Because I had not. And I feel slighted that I did not know that there was a chicken poet. Anyway, so in this picture, she has 2 of her prized chickens. And she would sell copies of her photos of her chickens with her book, Poor Little Hearts, which was a book of poetry dedicated to chickens. To each their own, baby. The next one is about, like, books that were made of other things and, like, book inventions. Now, I'm going to show you guys this because I know I'm talking to a bunch of lovers of books here. Check this action out. This is from 1719. Okay, this was a revolving book reader, which allowed the owner to read multiple large and heavy books with ease. Look at this. Look at this. How many of you would like that? This thing right here. Is that not cool? So the next one was about like books that were made of other stuff. This one right here, yeah, the cover was made out of tin so that you could like use it to cut people. The bottom one here is the first book ever illustrated, printed, and bound in the Antarctic. And it was bound with wooden boards from supply crates. So guys, getting into the chapter proper, because a lot of that was introduction, the chapter proper starts with, it's so perfect. It's this linen jacket embroidered by Agnes Richer, 1844 to 1918. She was a seamstress that was incarcerated in a psychiatric hospital in 1893. And she started to like write a book on this jacket. And apparently most of it is indecipherable. But yeah, check this action out. Again, I will give you close-ups. I would totally wear this. Look at that. Yeah. They said apparently the stuff that they can decipher, it's stuff like, I am not big. I wish to read. I love it. I love that. How cool is that? She like tried to write her like biography or something on that. So cool. So then we get into like, you start to see some of the humor of our author right off the bat, because we get into like these ancient forms of books, stuff like, and it's stuff that I feel like you probably would have guessed at, things like, you know, books written on bone and stuff like that. But apparently the Chinese, very old culture, they would write stuff on bones and like use it as an oracle. And a lot of them are lost to time because like people used to grind them up thinking they were dragon bones back in the day, no joke, and use them for like medicinal purposes. But he goes into saying that a lot of times, like it was sort of like a like fortune telling thing for them, that they would put, you know, like a question like, am I going to have a good harvest? And then when you write it, you give it to like the little fortune teller person and they would heat it and crack it. And depending on how it cracked, that was your fortune. I know, how cool is that, right? And, you know, there's stuff in here about like Tibetan prayer wheels. Okay, so guys, another really awesome part is in Mesopotamia, you know, back in the day, there was a lot of worry about like evil spirits and stuff. So they had this thing that they called demon bowls or devil trap bowls. And it was largely in Jewish, Babylonian, Aramaic. And so they would start on the outside and write it in a spiral. Yeah. And in the middle, they would put like a picture of a demon or a devil. And supposedly you put this at certain parts of your house or your building or whatever. And then if the demon manifests, he gets like stuck in the little wheel. Hold on, they have a picture of it. So this is an incantation bowl with an inscription around it from the 6th or 7th century. Right? Isn't that cool? Mr. Morningstar, is this your granddad? I'm just kidding. Isn't that neat? Now, here's the funny part that I actually laughed at. So get this. Humans never change. Humans never change. Apparently, like about 10% of these, because they were written in a few various languages, you know, it says Syriac, Arabic, and Persian were the most common. But about 10% were written in gibberish because they think that like people were trying to scam other people who were illiterate that didn't know the difference. Some things never change, right? Isn't that neat though? Like imagine that, like a demon bowl, a devil trap bowl. That's pretty cool. So then we start to get into some talk about like, and again, I had heard of some of this, but a lot of this stuff was brand new to me. So it started talking about how like, you know, Egypt crazy took, you know, the world by storm there for a while, and how people would have like mummy unwrapping parties and stuff like that. And how this one dude, who I'm going to butcher, he's Croatian, Mihajlo Beric. Yeah, we'll call him Beric. That he went and got himself a mummy, came back, and when they unwrapped her, she had like writing on the inside. Well, come to find out, you know, she was mummified at like the height of when this was starting to happen in Egypt. They just had to use like whatever they could get their hands on. So this lady was wrapped in like a Roman manuscript. So here's another funny part about this whole story. He died in 1859 and his family sold it to an institute, you know, and while in 1859, whoever like did the intake for this thing made a note that it had writing on the inside of its little like wrappings. It wasn't until 1891 that it was identified as like Etruscan text. Isn't that weird? Like 30 some years this thing lay there and they just didn't know that it was wrapped in this like weird book. Isn't that neat? I loved that. I thought that was really cool. So then we go on into this thing called cursed tablets. Now, I laughed so hard. And I know I laugh about a lot of stuff, but tell me this isn't funny as hell. So a lot of ancient Greeks and Romans apparently did this, and they were called descriptiones, or cursed tablets. And they were usually lead sheets scratched with messages calling for gods to inflict revenge on property or loved ones, and were always like fairly angry. So it reads one, get this, okay, tell me this couldn't be a text message. I curse Trincia Maria and her life and mind and memory and liver and lungs to be mixed up together, and her words, thoughts, and memories. Thus may she be unable to speak what things are concealed, nor be able to walk. Somebody buried that with someone they hated. This Tricia Maria. Humans have been petty since time began. I love it. I think it's hilarious. It said, apparently all but one of 130 cursed tablets found in the English city of Bath beg the goddess Minerva for the return of stolen goods and for curses to be placed on thieves. Now, here's a real funny part. You remember when I said that sometimes the devil bowls would be gibberish because people were trying to like get one over on illiterate customers? Get this. So some of these scrolls would be sold with blank spaces so that you could just write whoever's name in there. Convenient, right? So apparently we humans have just been like suckers for convenience since time immemorial. Is that not hilarious? Is that not funny? And also, some of them, again, cannot be translated, but it is said that apparently the people who sold these things would tell the people that it was in a mystic language that was even more powerful than whatever their mother tongue was, that would get the curse like to where it needed to be faster. and you thought pyramid schemes were bad. Is that not funny? I thought that was hilarious. Oh, and sometimes they would put these things at the graves of people who had been like unjustly killed, or I guess like killed too soon kind of thing. And they were called death passports, right? And it was directions on like shit to do in the afterlife. And, you know, like the interview questions of the gods and stuff like that. But check this out. So you see one of these death passports rolled up. They would put it in a necklace, like what's on this girl here. Oh, I want one real bad now. So, yeah, I thought that was neat. Death passports. Isn't that weird? Oh, and here's a cool one. Apparently, the ancient Moche, M-O-C-H-E, people flourished in what is now North Peru from AD 100 to AD 700 would paint lima beans and use them. And we don't know why. Like, we have no idea why. We found it, and apparently it is recorded on some of their pottery, like right here. Like this little thing right here, these things. Those are lima beans, and they have no idea. They have assumed that it was like a puzzle or like a currency or something like that, but they have no idea. Lima beans. Isn't that weird? I thought that was really cool. Oh, and okay, now there is some stuff in here about like the origin of the printing presses. Did you guys know that the Chinese had the printing press like 200 years before Gutenberg? I thought that was neat. It was made out of ceramic, so it broke a lot, but yeah, it existed. Isn't that neat? I didn't know that. So one of the really awesome parts of this that I had no idea about was the Incan civilization. Apparently they didn't have like an actual written form of language, but what they did have was this stuff called Quipu, Q-U-I-P-U, and it was a system of knots, right? Look at this. Look at this. It looks like a necklace, right? Like a tribal necklace or something. So it was the system of knots, and it said that the people who could read it could do it with their eyes closed, which immediately made me think of Braille. And now obviously we have no idea what any of this says because they were wiped out, but yeah, is that not amazing? Like, it was knots, just different types of knots. And apparently they did say that some of these things were actually, had variations of color that they think might be significant. Again, we don't know, and probably never will, but is that not weird? I thought that was so cool. So cool. That, I mean, can you imagine, like, if your system of writing was just making knots? Oh, so neat. So then the next part is all about, like, these books that functioned as other things. They called them paper instruments. And how apparently, like, publishing companies and stuff hated it and would, like, rile against it. And I was thinking, like, what kind of instrument could it possibly function as? And it's talking about, like, how it would be like a sundial or stuff like that. And, you know, you think nowadays, like, that, you know, things function as other things so much, you know, why is this a big deal? But it was back then, you know? Like, if you wanted a sundial, you went and got a sundial. You know, you didn't just, like, go buy a book and there it was. So then there was the story of Francesco Morosinski, the Duke of Venice, in the late, like, 1600s, and how he had a prayer book commissioned with a pistol in it. Yeah, look at this. Look at that thing, right? And this little trigger down here, yeah, that's the trigger. It's made to look like a bookmark. Yeah, it could only be fired when the book was closed. Yeah, in the 1690s, right? I feel like that's a really cool invention for back then. You know? Like, I know nothing about them, but I thought that was awesome. Now, another thing that I would totally want was the German secret poison cabinet. Oh my gosh. Just take it all in. Right here. This thing right here. Again, I will give you guys close-ups. Look at that. Like, all those little drawers. Yeah, all of those little drawers had, like, different types of poison in it. Is that not awesome? I thought that was so cool. And, oh, I laughed at this. Okay, all right. So the thing next to it, all right, take that in. Right there. That is a book toilet. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Okay, a literal loo book for the traveling book lover. A portable disguised oak commode stool unfolds from the large gilded calf bookbinding. Now, none of that was funny until I went to the title. This is what I'm saying about how humanity doesn't change. There have been dad jokes and people trying to be funny with like poop humor since time immemorial. The name that he put on the outside of this book is A History of Low Countries. A History of Low Countries. Come on, that's hilarious. That is so funny. Oh my gosh, I was rolling. Okay guys, so next up we have a thing called, and I'm probably going to butcher this, the Xylothek, sometimes called the Xylarium, or the Wooden Library. Now, this is awesome. Let's see, it is in San Vito di Cadore, Italy. And it is a library of books made out of wood. But, yeah, I know what you're saying, like, paper, you know, it's all made out of wood. No, these books are like, in and of themselves, chronicles of the flora of that region. Each book is made of a different type of wood, and within the pages are like the seeds of that tree and the flowers and the leaves and all of this. So it's like, it's kind of like in and of itself a history of that particular type of tree. And there's tons of them. Look at this. You see what I'm saying? Like there's a ton of them here. And you see they're all made out of different types of wood, and they all have like different shit inside of them. How amazing is that? It says in here that even some of them, like some of the pieces of wood, still have like moss remnants on them. And he talks about how like it smells real weird in that library. I bet it does. But how cool is that? Like each book itself is made out of the wood of the tree that that book is about. Okay guys, so the next story that I want to tell you about was really cool. It was about a guy named Solomon Kahn who decided to sign up for the American Civil War. And in Nashville, Tennessee, he bought a violin, I guess right before he got shipped out. And for some reason or another, he used the violin to like record a bunch of stuff. So he scratched it into the back of the violin. It does say he never played it, which makes me wonder why he bought it. But yeah, look at that. Isn't that awesome? And it's even dated. It says that he bought it in August of 1863. I think that's really cool. Like, how weird. Can you imagine what his like fellow soldiers would have been thinking, like seeing him like scratch shit into the back of a violin? Okay guys, so the next story I wanted to tell you about was about a man named Peter Moen. He was arrested and thrown into a prison during the Nazi occupation of Norway during World War II. While he was there, he had a diary that he wrote on toilet paper. And when he was done, he would roll it up and like put it in this little vent. Now, if you're like me, I was like, well, how the hell did anyone ever find it? Apparently, when he got shipped out and he was on the ship with the other prisoners, like he told a bunch of other guys about it, and that ship sank, actually, and a bunch of them died, but one of them made it and actually went back and found this thing. So it said that this guy would take a pen and like poke the words into the toilet paper. Right? I would love to see that. Can you imagine? Wow. Alright guys, so the next part of this chapter was about books that could be used as weapons. And there was two in particular I wanted to tell you guys about. The first one was a book out of Germany in 1968 called Kampfriem, which was battle rhymes in English. But it was a book designed to help German students who were going to school during the uprisings to protect themselves. And the front of it was made of metal that could be used as a weapon. It even says it on the cover, suitable for self-defense. And the second book was by artists Guy Debord, Asger Jorn, and V.O. Permild. It was a book called Memoirs, 1959, which had a dust jacket made of heavy-grade sandpaper, which was designed to destroy any book that it was shelved beside. Now the next one, it's an art piece, I know it is, but the little blurb from the librarian, I hope that this was tongue-in-cheek, I really do, because if not, it's all that more funny. So the next one is by this guy named Ben Dinzer, and apparently he's known for making books out of like weird shit, and this one is just called 20 Slices, and it's 20 slices of cheese in a book. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. See? Yeah, this thing sold for $200 for 20 slices of cheese. And the author of our book, The Madman's Library, says that 24 slices of Kraft American cheese cost roughly $3.50. So our author talks to this librarian by the name of Jamie Losh Vanderbroek, who he adds is lactose intolerant, which I died at. Like, okay, the librarian's lactose intolerant. And this is what I mean by I hope this was tongue-in-cheek, because she says, is someone the author of the cheese book? What is its subject? Is it about cheese if it is cheese? I hope that was tongue-in-cheek. But what's really funny is that he talks to another librarian at the University of Michigan by the name of Emily Ann Buckler, and she says, and I quote, that she knows the book is shelf-stable. Is that not great? But apparently this guy does a lot of stuff like that. Like, he has a book about, like, napkins from a particular hotel. He has a book about, like, sweeteners. And it's just, like, a bunch of sweeteners. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's, like, it's, like, an art thing. But how cool is it? Shelf-stable. I died. I thought that was so funny. But, guys, that was the end of this chapter. I honestly didn't tell you every single story because we'd been here forever. But I'm going to put some clips in, like I said, at the end of this video, so stick around for that if you're interested. I mean, guys, I don't know what else to say. The history nerd in me just jumped at it. So, guys, I feel like you understand now why I want to do a video for each of these chapters now that we've talked about chapter 1. There's just so much in these chapters that I want to do my due diligence to kind of present to you guys in case you want to get your hands on this. Now, if you're wondering, yes, there are some more, like, kind of horror-esque chapters coming up, but I really feel like, you know, for the book lover, you know, these strange, weird, out there things are just right up our alley, you know, and I want to share them with you guys. You guys are, you know, my book-loving friends, so let me know down below what you guys think so far of the Madman's Library. Have you read it? Have you heard of it? You know, what do you think of chapter 1? I'm in love. I hope you are too. I hope you'll stick around for the other 9 videos because there's 10 chapters in this thing. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I've been dying to get this video out because this book is gorgeous. It's so cool. It's so interesting. And I want to know what you think. So let me know down below. Guys, that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out for another video. Please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.
You